Good afternoon, guys. Welcome back into my channel. So in this lab, we're going to configure an S3 replication. So all we got to do is just go here and create a bucket. Now, by the way, just to avoid ignorance, why don't we go ahead and find out what is S3 replication. Now, Amazon's simple storage service, S3 replication, is an elastic, fully managed, low-cost feature that replicates objects between buckets. So S3 replication offers the most flexibility and functionality in cloud storage, giving you the control you need to meet your data sovereignty and other business needs. So let's have a look, dive deep into what S3 replication is.
Hello, everyone. My name is Vijeta Chakraborty, and I'm a product manager for Amazon S3. Today, I'm here to talk about S3 replication. S3 replication is an elastic, fully managed, low-cost feature that automatically replicates objects between S3 buckets. S3 replication gives you the most flexibility and functionality in cloud storage to help you meet your compliance, business continuity, and data sovereignty requirements. Today, we will review the major features of S3 replication, including S3 same region replication, S3 SRR, S3 cross-region replication, S3 CRR, or S3 replication time control, S3 RTC. S3 replication gives you several options. For example, you can replicate within the same AWS region with S3 SRR, or between different AWS regions with S3 CRR. You can replicate from a single source bucket to multiple destination buckets. You can replicate data across different AWS accounts or between buckets with object lock retention controls that are different from each other. And if you need predictable replication backed by an SLA, S3 replication time control lets you replicate objects within 15 minutes of upload. To get started with S3 replication, you first select the data that you'd like to replicate and select an AWS region you want to replicate to. You have the option to replicate to the same or different AWS account. You can change ownership of the objects as they're being written to the destination bucket to further protect and isolate your data. And finally, you can choose the storage class of the destination bucket to be the same as the source, or a lower cost storage class like S3 Standard Infrequent Access or S3 Glacier Deep Archive. First, let's talk about S3 same region replication, S3 SRR. There are a few examples of why customers will use S3 SRR. For example, to consolidate application logs from multiple buckets or multiple accounts into one central archival bucket, or to keep development, testing, and production buckets in sync for their users, or to meet data sovereignty requirements to say that maintain multiple copies of your data under different AWS accounts, but all in one AWS region. Next, let's review S3 cross-region replication, or S3 CRR. We see customers using S3 CRR for multiple reasons. For example, to meet compliance requirements that dictate to maintain data in two AWS regions spaced a given number of miles apart, or to minimize latencies for geographically distributed users, or to centralize their global data lake to the same region as their compute clusters. Now, if you're a customer looking for a predictable SLA-backed guarantee on your data replication, consider using S3 replication time control, or S3 RTC. S3 RTC is designed to replicate 99.99% of your objects within 15 minutes of upload, with replication typically completing in seconds. You get an SLA commitment that says that 99.9% of your objects will get replicated to your destination bucket in that 15-minute time interval. The SLA applies independently to each replication rule for the identified region pair. Now, S3RTC can be applied to your entire bucket or to a subset of objects by filtering through prefix or object tags. We see many different use cases for S3RTC across the financial services and other industries. Customers use S3RTC for that time-based guarantee on replication. It helps them meet compliance requirements and report out their RPO or recovery point objective at a minute-level granularity, and track which operations, if any, are replicated after that 15-minute threshold. S3 Replication now provides you the ability to replicate to multiple destination buckets, and these could be in the same AWS region or different AWS regions. You can monitor replication progress for each of these destinations and choose to enable S3RTC for one or more region pairs. This ability to replicate to multiple destinations is unique, and it's really good for customers that have geographically distributed users and want to minimize latencies for data access. Let's talk about S3 replication metrics and notifications. Now you can enable per destination level metrics and notifications for each replication rule without turning on S3 RTC. You can track byte spending, operation spending, and replication latency between your source and destination bucket through the S3 Management Console or on Amazon CloudWatch. You're also able to receive replication failure events to quickly diagnose and correct any issues. There are two more replication configurations that I'd like to review today. The first one is delete marker replication. By enabling delete marker replication in your replication configuration, you can replicate user deletes in your source bucket to the destination bucket. Next, let's talk about replication modification sync. Customers have told us that they want to replicate bidirectionally between source and destination buckets. And that's why we now have the ability to replicate your object and metadata changes from the replica back over to the source bucket. Let's recap. Today we talked about S3 replication, which is an elastic, fully managed, low-cost feature to automatically replicate objects between S3 buckets. We talked about a wide variety of S3 replication offerings like S3 SRR, S3 CRR, and S3 RTC. We also reviewed a few replication configurations, like the ability to replicate to multiple destinations, or replicating delete markers and replica modifications. We hoped you liked hearing about these topics. Thank you so much for listening to us.
Okay, guys, so all right, so thank you for following along. So basically, there's no need to even go over anything else that I would like to say about S3 replication. So let's just go ahead and we're gonna create two buckets. We're gonna create an original bucket, and then we're gonna create a replication bucket. Then we're gonna upload some stuff on the original bucket, and it's going to automatically replicate on the replication bucket, on the replica bucket. But then we have to first and foremost create a replication rule. So let's just go ahead and not wasting time. Let's call this original S3 dash bucket. And we can leave this on any region we'd like to, but I will leave that as default right there. As for copy settings, to choose bucket, I don't need to do that yet. I will leave everything else as default here. Now, keep in mind that in order for you to replicate your bucket, you have to open bucket versioning. So versioning is means of keeping multiple variants. We went over that on our previous video, so let's just go ahead and enable this. Now, for default default encryption, we're gonna leave everything else as default, and we would go ahead and create our bucket. This name is already taken. Let's make this one. Okay. Now, this bucket is being created. Now, let's go ahead and create a replica bucket. We're going to make this replica S3 bucket 1. And we're going to scroll down. We're going to leave everything else as the same, but if you want to, you could choose whatever region that you want to put that to. The option is, this technology is optional. So let's scroll down. We don't need to block any access to public yet. So let's just making sure that we enable bucket versioning, and let's create our bucket today. So now that we have 2 buckets, let me show you something real quick. So let me just open up a tab and make this bucket be here. Let's go on bucket. Okay, so we have it here. Now I'm going to open my replica bucket on this page, and I'm going to open my original bucket here. So now, if you follow along, here's what I will do. I'm going to upload an image on my original bucket. So let me go ahead and add files. Yeah, let's add this. Let's upload it and let's close. So it doesn't, okay, so we went too fast then. Now, if you follow along, you will see that I have a bucket. I have a file that's being uploaded on my original bucket, right? Now, if I switch into my replica bucket, I refresh, nothing showing here. Can you tell me why? Now, there go the original bucket. I refresh. I have a file. I have an image folder. I have a file. It's right there. And I switch to my replica bucket, it doesn't replicate. So the reason it doesn't replicate is the fact that we have not yet create a replica rule on our bucket. So let's switch into the original. We're gonna click on this image. I'm sorry, it's just back here. Original, and we're gonna click. You're gonna want to click into management, and you would scroll until you see replica rules. So I will click on create a replica rule. I will give this a name of test replica test replication rule. Let me call it replication rule. The status, I will let this be enabled, and I will scroll down into source bucket. Now in source bucket here, you're gonna wanna apply to all the object in the bucket. And as for destination here, you could choose a destination or specify a bucket on another account. So now here, if you click here, you would see the name of your replica bucket, right? You would see the name of your replica bucket. And so you would want to select the replica bucket that you want to replicate. So you choose path. And so it says the destination region is on the same region as the original bucket. Now for the IAM, you can either choose an existing IAM, or you could click on enter an IAM, or create a new IAM. Now, as for encryption, you could leave that like that. For destination storage, you could leave everything else like that. Now, for now, the additional replication option, you could leave that as right now, because before we end this demo today, I'm going to show you something about delete marker replication. Delete marker replication. But as for now, let's just go ahead and save our settings and create this. Now, if you notice that you get a message saying that replication existing object, so you can enable one or more bash operation job from this replication configuration to replicate object that already exists in the bucket and to synchronize the source and destination bucket. So basically, what that really means is that so it turns out when you enable the replication, it will only replicate object from the moment you set it. So for fewer upload, so if you wanted to replicate the previous object from the source to the destination bucket, you could use something called bash operation. On S3 bash operation to do so, you would need to say yes to that, but this is separate from the replication feature itself. Therefore, I'm going to say no and do not replicate existing objects. So let's go ahead and say no, leave it as no, and submit. Now we create the replication rule for our bucket. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going into this original bucket and I can go to management and there we go. This is the replication rule that we created. It's right there. So now if I switch into object and say if I switch into object and I would want to, let's say if I want to upload a new image, let's say uploaded, and I go here, let me go to the desktop and see if I can find an image. Let me grab this image here and add that and upload this. As it's uploaded, I can close. Now let me switch. Now, if you notice, we have two images file into our original S3 bucket. So let's just refresh. Now, if I switch into my replica bucket, I should be able to have the image that I just been uploaded into my original bucket to replicate into my replica bucket. Now, if you notice that I have it, click on the toggle show version button here, but see, it's already been here. That's the image. And if a proof of that is that there go the version ID. The version ID, it starts by SE and it finishes by Q. Capital Q and lowercase q. So if I switch back into this, let's say show version ID, and that's exactly the same as the one that being replicated. So what that is that this is the true beauty of replica, and that's the reason that you have you have a replica, a cross region replication. So what what I want to show you, let's say, for instance, if I go again on the original, and let's say I want to upload a different, another picture. Let's say I scroll to where, let's say I grab this folder. I upload it, I close. So now I have it on my original. Let me switch back into my replica. Come on, sad days. Okay, replica, sorry, replica. And I just refresh. It should take a moment before it would replicate into this folder here. So there we go. It's right there. So you notice that I had to, so okay. Now, the proof of that is that it have a version ID of RI and the last is LA. So let's switch back into our original. Let's say show versioning. There go the new one, the RI and LA. So now, the other thing I'd like to show you is that if I switch into my original, okay, so which I'm already here, let's say I go to management, right there, I select my replication rule, and I will edit it, edit rule. I would scroll down. You see where it says additional replication option is that it have a replication time control, it have a replication metric, it have a delete marker replication, and replica modification sync. So I will select the replication marker. So if you are enabled deleted marker replication, then they will be replicated from one bucket to another. So by default, the deleted marker is not selected automatically. By default, you have to select that yourself. So let's just go ahead and save that. So now that it's saved, let's go to our object inside of the bucket. Let's say, for instance, if we were to delete one object, let's grab this download here. I select it, I delete, and I will go down here and type delete, right? I delete this, right? So this object is being deleted into our original folder. Into our original bucket. So now let's switch back into the replica bucket that we create. Let's refresh. So it might take some time before it shows here as delete marker. There we go. So you see, we delete the download that PNG file from the original S3 bucket, and it replicate as a delete marker from the replication bucket, right? From the replica bucket. So there we go. Here, we delete it here. It does not delete because we have set the rule from here. So we went here, we select that, we edit the rule, and we scroll down as we enable the delete marker replication. So now when we delete something, an object from our bucket, it's actually, see, there it go here also. not only the delete marker is enabled from the original bucket, but it's also enabled, once we set that rule, it's also enabled from the replication bucket too as well. So I think that's it for this demo today. So, but if you decide to delete a specific version of a file, for example, like I mean, you could always go and select this file and just click delete. And now you're gonna have to delete it permanently. So all you gotta do is just copy this file and paste it here and have everything deleted, and then it will be deleted everywhere. So the proof of that, let's show you. And let's just refresh. Let's go back here and refresh. Let's close that. Let's just open it. So that's the replica bucket. So let's go back here. So even though that you delete this file permanently, so you still have to delete it permanently from the replication tool. Have you noticed? See, let's refresh. So then you have to go here and say delete and delete this permanently from the replication tool. So that's the beauty of this technology of replica on S3 buckets. So thank you so very much. I appreciate you guys will follow along. Stay tuned for another lab configuration. I'll see you soon. So that's on the replica bucket. Now we refresh. If I close show, sorry. If I close show version, open it. So now you see it's no longer have the delete marker on both of the files. See here. Let's refresh. Okay, guys, so thank you for following along. Stay tuned for another lab configuration. I will see you soon. Bye-bye.